I always thought of Walmart as a safe place, even late at night. One evening, I went for a quick shopping trip around p.m. The store was mostly empty, which made it easier to get my errands done quickly. I was browsing through the aisles when I noticed a man following me. At first, I thought it was a coincidence, but every time I moved to a different section, he was there. I tried to shake him off by weaving through various departments, but he stayed close. I picked up my pace, heart pounding, and decided to head towards the front of the store. When I glanced back, I saw him staring at me intently, his eyes never leaving me. I approached a Walmart employee and whispered about the man following me. She immediately called security, and they escorted me to the front while keeping an eye on the man. The security guard walked me to my car and told me to wait while he confronted the man. As I sat in my car, I saw the man being questioned by the security guard. He looked agitated and kept glancing in my direction. The guard eventually made him leave the store, and I drove home, still shaken. The experience left me wary of late night, shopping trips, and constantly looking over my shoulder. A few weeks later, I saw the same man at another Walmart across town. He didn't seem to recognize me, but I couldn't shake the feeling of dread. I reported the encounter to the store manager, who promised to keep an eye on him. I left quickly, avoiding any further confrontation. Despite the assurances from Walmart staff, the man continued to show up at various locations around town. I started to feel like I was being stalked. Each time, he would just watch me from a distance, never approaching but never letting me out of his sight. My paranoia grew, and I stopped going to Walmart altogether. I eventually contacted the police, explaining the situation and my growing fear. They took my report seriously and advised me to be cautious. They also suggested I change my routine and avoid places where I had seen the man before. It was a small comfort, but it did little to ease my anxiety. Months passed without any sightings, and I began to feel a bit safer. But the experience had left a lasting impact. I installed security cameras around my home and made sure to never go shopping alone late at night. I couldn't shake the feeling that the man was still out there, watching and waiting for another opportunity. I took my 3-year-old son to Walmart for some grocery shopping one afternoon. It was a busy day, with families and shoppers bustling about. I had my son in the shopping cart, but as we were passing the toy section, he begged to walk around. I let him down and kept a close eye on him as he explored. In a split second, I turned to grab an item from the shelf, and when I looked back, my son was gone. Panic surged through me as I frantically called his name and looked around. Other shoppers noticed my distress and helped me search, but there was no sign of him. I rushed to the front of the store and reported the incident. The employees quickly went into action, locking down the store and announcing a Code Adama protocol for missing children. Within minutes, employees were stationed at all exits, and the search intensified. The minutes felt like hours as I desperately searched every aisle, calling out my son's name. I felt helpless and terrified, imagining the worst. Just as I was about to break down, an employee found my son near the electronics section, holding a toy and completely unaware of the chaos he had caused. I hugged him tightly, tears streaming down my face. The employee who found him reassured me that these incidents happen more often than people realize, but it did little to ease my guilt and fear. I thanked everyone who helped and left the store, vowing to never let my son out of my sight again. The experience haunted me for weeks. I had nightmares about losing my son and became hypervigilant whenever we went out. I also learned to appreciate the kindness of strangers and the efficiency of Walmart's emergency protocols. It was a wake-up call that changed how I approached parenting in public spaces. I had heard rumors about the old Walmart in our town being haunted, but I never believed in such things. That changed one late night when I had to run in for some last-minute supplies. The store was almost empty, and an eerie silence hung in the air. As I walked through the store, I noticed an aisle where the lights flickered intermittently. Every time I stepped into that aisle, a cold chill ran down my spine. I brushed it off as faulty wiring and continued shopping. Then I heard whispering. It was faint but unmistakable. I looked around, expecting to see someone nearby, but the aisle was empty. My heart raced as the whispers grew louder, sounding like multiple voices overlapping. I hurriedly grabbed the items I needed and started towards the checkout. As I reached the front of the store, I glanced back and saw a shadowy figure at the end of the aisle. It was only there for a moment before disappearing into thin air. I quickly paid for my items and left, feeling an overwhelming sense of relief once I was outside. The next day, I mentioned the experience to a friend who worked at Walmart. She told me that several employees had reported similar encounters in that aisle, always late at night. They believed the store was haunted by the spirit of a former employee who had tragically passed away years ago. Curious and still skeptical, I decided to return to the store during the day. I found the same aisle and felt a slight chill, but nothing like the previous night. I asked an employee stocking shelves if they had experienced anything unusual, and they hesitated before sharing their story. The employee mentioned hearing the same whispers and seeing the shadowy figure. They also said that products would sometimes move on their own or fall off shelves without explanation. Despite the eerie occurrences, the employee assured me that nothing harmful had ever happened. Still curious, I did some research and found that the Walmart was built on the site of an old factory, where a fire had claimed several lives. The former employee mentioned by my friend was one of the victims. The history made me shiver, and I realized that the ghostly encounters might be tied to the tragic past. I decided not to visit that Walmart at night anymore, but I couldn't help feeling a strange connection to the place. The experience made me more open to the possibility of the supernatural and left me with a sense of empathy for the restless spirits that might be lingering there.